web server will treat that request
Hello,
as a
welcome
new
to my
request
journey.
from a new web client. And because of this nature,
They are those system deployment. Hope you guys enjoy. Too many.
Alright. Alright, good morning everyone. Can you hear me? Testing.
I could hear you.
Alright, perfect. So let's start really soon in maybe 30 seconds. Alright, so okay. Yeah, so extremely busy week this week. Yeah, so I'm still marking your paper and your submissions. I also need to mark the other course that I need to mark for, right? So teaching iOS and DevOps, right? And in iOS we have like 120 submissions, so that's why it takes me some time to go through each of you guys and also give you guys mark. But I can tell you right now that the overall outcome for the assignment was looking pretty good so far. So that may be something that you are looking forward to, right? All right. Regardless, always like usual, always right. Assignment 1 gonna be like a lot more hands-on from me. Make sure that you guys can do the assignment, and then assignment 2 going to be more challenging. So it's actually very normal for you to struggle, right? It's a part of life, right? So when you go to work, right, usually 80% your boss going to ask you to do something that you don't even know how to do it. You have to struggle. You have to search, spend like 3 days on Stack Overflow searching for the answers. And once you got the answers, it's very easy, right? So that's a part of life, right? So it's very normal for you to struggle for assignment 2 and 3, right? But sometimes the answer is not even in the lab, right? So that's why we are trying to simulate the feeling of being challenged when you go to work, right? So this is the pipeline when you actually have to roll and have to like don't stick with the lab anymore. I know that the lab is a bit more hands-on, right? I show you step by step. Trust me to teaching DevOps. That is the only way we can teach DevOps, right? Because DevOps is not about concept, about the art, about the creativity, right? There's nothing about that. It's about the tool, it's about the concept, it's about, do you know what is the concept of this tool, right? How does this tool actually fit in the big pictures of CI/CD pipeline? And all right, cool. And then can you apply this tool into your pipeline to improve the efficiencies or improve the time to productions compared to just a normal pipeline, right? Without that tool specifically. So at the end of the day, I know that the lab is a bit hands-on, a bit long, right? But it's just a nature, because it's the nature of DevOps, it's the nature of engineer, right? To teach you guys the tool usually, right? Let's say that Docker, right? Usually it takes like half a semester, right? But we are learning DevOps. We can't spend half a semester to learn just DevOps. So that's why we need to be a bit more rushing when we're learning these tools, because we want to be the pipeline at the end. And I try to build the lab to be very practical, very hands-on, and then you get something out the lab right away, right? So every single lab, you actually see the website deployed using your pipeline. So that is the end result, right? All right, so having said that, let's move on to the lecture today, which is Ansible. All right, so Ansible, I think, gonna be a fun topic, like usual. And then also we're gonna have a Kahoot quiz for today. So hopefully you guys can have some fun together. Yep. All right, so let's talk about this. All right, so Ansible, right? So the agenda today is really extremely straightforward, like similar to last lecture, we learned about Docker. For this lectures, we are focused on Ansible, right? So we talk about what is Ansible, right? So the concept, and then why do we want to use Ansible, right? And then talk the features of Ansible, and then what is installation, very straightforward installation. And then we talk about YAM file. So YAM is actually, actually a file format where we can build an Ansible playbook for Ansible to run that specific script on the specific target, right? So we're gonna learn about what is YAM stuff, right? And then we're gonna learn about Ansible Playbooks. So technically, consider them to be a bash script, but this is a very special, very specific bash script, very tailored for Ansible to automate the configuration, right? So we're gonna learn about that. Learn about the inventory. Inventory is where it's actually a file where you store a bunch of like host name and addresses of different targets server, right? So with Ansible, we can try to manage up to 10, 100,000 different server, right? Before, with our Ansible, we cannot do that, right? So far we learned about CI/CD, we learned about Java, Mavens, Jenkins, Tomcat, and Docker. So far, it's a normal pipeline. It's a good pipeline, but when we are dealing with, let's say, 100 different servers, that is impossible for our current pipeline to cope with. That's why we need to introduce Ansible, right? Because Ansible is another layer on the top to help you to manage multiple different servers, multiple different configurations, right? Talk more about that. And then we'll talk about the Ansible modules, which is really powerful. With Ansible module, instead of writing a bash script, you are writing a very concise and very short command where you can do everything you want. You can install MySQL, you can configure stuff, you can create a table in your database, you can install, I don't know, Tomcat, whatever, right? So there's really 100 different modules for you to play around with Ansible to apply that in your playbook to get a very concise, very clear, way to automate stuff. And then we talk about, Ansible and Docker. Like without Ansible, like what is the difference, and with Ansible, what is the difference, right? And then also talk about this week lab a bit. And also we have a Kahoot games quickly for today. Gonna be fun about Dockers. All right, so let's dive deeper into Ansible. All right, so what is Ansible? I don't want to blow your mind with difficult definitions. So Ansible are super straightforward, right? Double check. Am I recording myself right now? Perfect. All right, good. So Ansible is just an open source tool. So you can look at the source code if you want to. It actually built on the top of Pythons, right? So this is a nice thing about it. So everything we learned so far is built on the top of Java. Right? So everything we learned so far is like Java, Maven, Tomcat, Jenkins. They all related to Java or built on the top of Java. But Ansible is built on top of Python, which is really nice. So it's an open source tool, allowing you to automate tasks. This could be a software provisioning, which means that this automate the task for you to install software on your applications, right? And also application deployment. It can help you to deploy your applications. So that's why it's related to your continuous delivery. So these two parts are very similar. All right, and then we have the configuration management. It means that, so now imagine you got a bunch of server, right? And each of them have different configurations, and it's extremely hard, right? Imagine you do everything by hand, just typing command over and over again, right? And actually there's no record of doing things. Imagine you doing this way and you got a new dev developers, like junior developer coming to your company, right? It's actually very hard to teach him everything you do using the command line. But with Ansible, it's actually really easy because you can just show him the playbook, say, hey, this is the playbook that I use to configure, to set up my server, right? You can use the same playbook, or if you want to, you can change the playbook a bit, right, to actually fit to your demand, right? So that is, and then you can upload that playbook to the GitHub, and you have the source version control over that configuration, right? So that's why we call them a configuration management. It's allow you to manage different configuration easily over 1,000 or 100 different server. And yeah, so that is Ansible. Really powerful, really easy tool to use. Okay. All right. So the question I'm often received from students is, all right, so if Bash script can do something with Ansible, right? If you want to, like, hey, I want to try hard. If I have 10 server, I just repeat that 10 times, right? It's okay for me to do it, right? But at the end of the day, well, Bash script is like the ultimate. If you want to try hard, you will get it, right? So there's nothing Bash script cannot do, right? Bash script can do everything, but it takes time, right? Because if you write a Bash script, you know how complex to write a Bash script. If you make one small mistake, right, you need to like fix that, right? Or if you want to write if conditions, this here add if else condition. I haven't teach you that because way too complex for you guys. But I just want to let you know that you can write if else conditions, conditionals in Bash script, right? And then you can write else here. You can, yeah, do all crazy stuff here. So this Bash script right here, just to add a user into the Linux system, right? I won't go through too much, but you can see that it's pretty long, right? It's pretty long. It's checking if the user is existing or not, and then if the user doesn't existing, they actually add the Bash script and also add the password into it. Also, if the user existing, is print out the user existing, right? So there's a lot of complexity when it comes to Bash script. It requires you to have a decent Bash script coding skill, right? Pretty hard for sure. And you need to regularly maintain it, right? So I can give you an example of my first GitHub repo. This is what I do when I was at work in Melbourne. So this is during my internship, right? So I had to write a very complex Bash script to automate my deployments. Okay, so let's find that. So if you go to my repo and you scroll down to a very last repo, right? You see that fast deploy Bash script. So this is ancient ancient repo 6 years ago, right? But everything is still valid because it's bash script. So you can see that, well, guess what? This is what I write 6 years ago, right? And this code is just simply to deploy a WordPress automated on the server, right? And you can see that it doesn't look pretty. It looks really complex, right? So I can just quickly tell you, right? So technically you enter so it asks you a few things. It read your email, it read the domain name that you want, and then it's also allow you to deploy on 2 main different Linux system at a time, right? So either Debian, right, Ubuntu, or CentOS, AWS, right? So you can choose either of them, and you can, deploy that, and you can see that there's a lot of if-else switching. This is like a switch in bash script, and you can see that it's a lot of complexity here to actually write bash script to deploy just a simple WordPress on the server, right? So that was this 6 years ago, and I doesn't like it, right? So that's impossible to maintain, right? So apart from me, I would guarantee that no junior developer will come to company and can maintain this code, right? Because it's too complex for them, right? So this is definitely extremely not maintainable, right? Because usually when you write something that isn't more complex in bash script, it's getting too much for other people to actually understand your bash script, right? So that's why it needs me to regularly maintain that, right? Because usually if the system or AWS change a few things in the system, I need to go to this bash script and change that and look into the source code and change that, right? So that is definitely too much, right? You can automate everything with bash script, but probably too much. Okay, so let's introduce Ansible Playbook, right? Because it's actually really simple and fast. It's actually really powerful with modules, right? So whatever you can think of, you can just install or use the module that you want for your task. Could be related to your Jenkins, could be related to your database, could be related to your Dockers, whatever you want. Think of anything you want to automate. You can find a module for that, right? And also, this is actually agentless. This means that, so let's say you have 100 servers, right? You don't need to install Ansible on those 100 servers. Technically, you just need to install them on the central control master, and then let that control master server to control all the server through SSH, right? And that's really clean setup, right? So which we really like. We don't want to install Ansible on 100 servers. So just want to install Ansible on one single server only to control everything, right? And you can compare these two, right? So these two are the same, do the same thing. Just to add a user into the Linux system, right? So imagine this host, right? This one is like where you want the Ansible Playbook to run, right? Could be a local host, right? Could be your databases, or could be all your web server on the cloud or on the AWS, right? So wherever you want, you change one single line here, and that apply the Ansible Playbook on different target environment. That's really easy, right? And then you can just add a task. So what task do you want to do? You want to add a user with the name Jordo. That's it, right? So you can see that with Ansible, everything really clean and nice compared to bash script. That's why we love Ansible. All right, so the next question is, all right, so let's talk more about Ansible, right? So why do we need to have Ansible? So far, you might see that there's no need for us to using Ansible because you only have one single target deployment server. Like literally it's one single target deployment server, right? So far the pipeline is working, the pipeline is all right. You make something, you change something on the GitHub that trigger the Jenkins, right? And then the Jenkins gonna pull the code and then build up with Mavens, and then producing the word artifact, and then Jenkins gonna copy that word artifact into the Docker server, right? And the Dockers using the Dockerfile, it's gonna add that artifact into the Docker image, and then everything will be created. It's gonna have to, and then Docker is gonna have to create the Docker container based on that specific image, and then you can just serving the expose the port number of the Docker container outside, and then you can open your website. Right? So far, so good, right? So far, we don't need Ansible, but imagine you have 100 different servers, right? You have a lot of servers, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 10, right? So when you think about that, for our current pipeline, it's getting really difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, you can say that if you have a group of server, you need to set them up, right? You need to install and update the software on them, right? So that step could be very tedious and repetitive, right? So instead of SSH manually into each server, we can sub and manage their configuration easily with Ansible, right? So technically, you have an Ansible control machine here, a server, and with SSH, you can quickly control them and apply the Ansible Playbook to manage all of them. Whatever you want, you can install MySQL on them easily using Ansible Playbook, right? So imagine this is master, all right, control everyone, and this is slave, right? Like being controlled by the master. And the nice thing about Ansible is it's agentless. So what does it mean by that? It means that you only need to install Ansible once for your Ansible control machine only, right? And these machines that is being controlled, there is no need to install anything on them, any Ansible on them, right? Because Ansible can control them through SSH. That's really nice. So it means that we don't need to have any deployment effort from beginning, and also no upgrade effort, right? So if you want to upgrade your Ansible version, you just need to update once here, right? And then also there's no much deployment effort because you don't need to install Ansible on each of the machine that you want control, right? So that's why that is the beauty of it compared to other configuration management tool, right? So so let's talk about more like industry use case here. So let's imagine a very complex network of 100 different servers could be spread across public and private cloud, right? So you can have a bunch of servers in your private cloud, like in your private cloud, could be a bare metal, or could be your local host or stuff, right, in your company. And also you could have like 100 different servers on the cloud, right? So that was really complex, right? How can you manage to install and to manage the configurations software on all of them, right? So with the help of modules for Jenkins, you can easily sub the program, sub their configuration files for all these different servers here, as long as you can sub the communication between them, right? So the task could be about modifying the configuration files, could be about installing the software on them, could be about configuring the firewall on them to make sure that they are secure, right? So definitely there's a lot of modules, right? There's a lot of modules for Ansible to manage all of that. All right. Yeah, this was supposed to be documentations, misspelling, right? So, okay, let's fix that. So Ansible documentations. All right, so to learn about Ansible, you need to look through the Ansible documentations, right? So there's a links here. So if you look at these links, take you to this page. And if you have time, like look through them and make sure that you have spent time, because Ansible, similar to Jenkins, could be as simple as you want and could be as complex as you want, right? So that's why spend time to like look through documentation to see what is the change, what is the basic understanding, the concept of Ansible and stuff, right? So you can see about what is the installation guide right here, which is also useful. And then they also teach you to get started with Ansible, how to build the Ansible inventory, how to create your first playbook, right, and different Ansible concept, right? So this will be really useful, okay? So wait for you to look into more into Ansible. All right, so to install Ansible. Super straightforward. On the CentOS, machines, you need to do sudo yum install Ansible. Right? So this is a classic way to install anything using yum on CentOS. And then for Ubuntu, right? So for some of you also know that to install anything on Ubuntu, you need to do the apt-get install. So this is a classic way to install packages on Ubuntu as well. And also because Ansible is built using Python, so that's why you can using the Python pip, which is the package management. I would say package management tool allow you to manage different package of Pythons, and you can do pip install Ansible. All right, it's up to you. But for the lab, we definitely stick to this one because we are we have actually installed Ansible on the AWS, right, which is a version of CentOS. All right, so straightforward installations. So let's talk about YAML. All right, so let's have a survey. Have you heard or experienced with YAML file before? Right. All right, so let's do the survey, guys. Just want to see how decent you are with YAML. All right, by the way, the pronunciation for this is actually quite confusing. Some people call them yum, right? Some people call them YAML. All right, up to you. You can call yum or YAML, depends on how lazy you are, right? On the bad day, call yum. On the good day, call YAML. So YAML actually a very popular configuration file. Like you can see YAML in other platform, right? Our languages as well, like especially as a configuration file. So definitely, so if you did a lot of framework and other stuff, definitely you're gonna be familiar with YAML, right? But if you are pretty new to like programming stuff, so this may be the first time you see YAML, right? All right, so definitely, most people gonna learn about XML before. Right? This XML is gonna be the most disgusting topic for students to learn, right? Because yeah, I talked to a lot of students, and when they learn about XML, they was like, "Oh my God, this is so ancient and so boring," right? So yes, but it's also important to know about XML because some of the old configuration files for, let me remember, Mavens is using the XML, right? So need to know about that. But definitely when we are transferring the data on the internet, we don't really use XML, we are using JSON, right? So for the people who are actually using a lot of API, like Google Map API or whatever API you want, usually all the data transfer through the API, the request and the receive, gonna be JSON, right? Straightforward, the most beautiful data format ever, straightforward stuff, right? So JSON's beautiful, right? So JSON actually stands for, let me remember, JavaScript object notation. Yeah. So this is actually one of the main data type for JavaScript, and we are also using that for everything else, right? So MongoDB, right? So you know MongoDB, which is NoSQL. They are using similar way to JSON to store their data, right? So that's why this is the king. This is really the king of everything, right? Everything using JSON. But Ansible, when it comes to Ansible, they are referring the format YAML, right? So let's compare them, right? So for XML, you can see that there's a lot of repeat for the tag, right? So we have servers with plural, and then in servers we have multiple different server, right? Small server, right? And then for every single properties, right, you have the begin tag and you have a ending tag. This is extremely similar to HTML, right? So if you learn about HTML, this is extremely similar to that, because HTML is a very special type of XML anyways. So the more you know. So you can see that this is all right, but it's not too complex, too much text, right? But for JSON, straightforward, right? So for JSON, you can do this curly bracket. For dictionary, right? And then you have the keys, is servers, and this is contain an array of stuff. And this is contain one single dictionary only, and this one contain the keys and the value, the keys and the value, the keys and the value, and the keys and the value. All right. So that is technically how you store JSONs. All right. For YAML, it's actually quite similar, right? It's clean and it's so beautiful, right? So let's look at that. You have servers here, right? Servers is dictionary, contain the keys, is the server. What is the value? The value is a list of stuff. So what is a list of stuff? Contain the keys. It's another dictionary contain keys, value, key, value, key, value, key, and value, right? So this technically how you can think of that. It's just a different way to store a piece of data, right? But for Ansible, definitely we're really gonna learn about the YAML, right? And the YAML, I can tell you that it's actually quite difficult for students because the space is actually important, right? The space and the indentation are important. For JSONs and for XML, they don't really care about that, right? As long as you got the right syntax. Okay. All right. So what are the data, right, that YAML can accept? So YAML can accept 3 types of data type, right? The first one will be the key pair value, really straightforward. Keys and value, keys and value, keys, value, keys, and value, right? Super straightforward. Nothing to like really learn about that. Technically, it's just key and values. And the second type would be array or list. Some people call array, some people call list, right? Depends on which one you refer to. But they mean the same thing, which is you got fruit, and your fruit contain a bunch of items, right? This is a collection of items. For example, fruit here, you got orange, banana, and apple, right? Similar to vegetable, right? You have tomato, carrot, and broccoli, right? So broccoli is my favorite vegetable for your information. And then dictionary, right? So dictionary, straightforward. So for orange, you can have carries, right? Caps, right? Fat, right? And then for watermelons, you have carries, caps, and fat. Okay. So just keep in mind every time we gonna write some Ansible playbook together, just remember it has to follow this specific format. Okay. So if you are stuck with YAML, you're like, hey, I make some syntax error, I don't know how to fix that. Then you can use in this beautiful website. So it's called Yama Lint. So this allows you to check the syntax if your YAML is correct or not. So let's try that. The thing about let me see if I can copy this over. No. All right, fruit, right, and then orange. Let's test it, right? So let's see how difficult is the syntax of YAML, orange. Right, I can tell you that it's actually quite tricky for beginning. Right? For beginning, people are going to be pissed because sometimes it could be very annoying when it comes to like the space and stuff. Vegetable, tomato, carrot, broccoli. All right, so let's try that. All right, so let's copy this into link and see what happens. Okay, so you can see that if I remove this, right, let's say I remove this line, it's going to give me an error, right? Say, hey, I'm expecting that, right? Because at the end of the day, YAML care about space, right? Don't ever use tab in YAML, right? Not recommended, only use space. All right, so if you do space, all right, it's fine. To give you another error, right? Because it's supposed to be very specific format. So let's say this put a space in between, right? Nicely spaced out. Yep. Try that again. So it look alright. So it's gonna fix you some stuff. So it's care about space a lot, right? So wherever you work with YAML, by the way, the triple dash here, yeah, beginning of every YAML file, right? So you need to have that for your playbook as well. I skipped that. I removed that because we talk about that for the playbook. And keep in mind that triple dash means the beginning of the file. All right, so you can see that the format here are very specific, right? If you remove this, it also doesn't like it, right? So at the end of the day, might be using this website a lot when you're dealing with YAML. And also show you another one. So if I say fruit, banana, right? Let's try that. Liquid, water, meat, beef, right? So if I put it into this and I remove the space here, right? It cannot give me an error, right? Say, hey, no idea what does it mean by this, right? So definitely, it's actually very challenging to actually work with YAML. So you have to put a space there, make sure there's a space in between the keys and the value, right? So now you know that when you're dealing with YAML, most of the time you got the error just by space. So technically, just be careful about that. Just missing the space, maybe too much space, maybe using tab, not using the space, stuff like that. So just be careful. All right. So let's look at the example for dictionary for YAML, right? So we have a car, a nice car. So all right. So the color is blue, right? The price is $200,000. The model is Corvette. And the transmission is manual, right? So manual is when you actually put in different gears, not automatic, right? So, and then if you want to, you have this object and you want to convert them into YAML, right? Definitely you can use dictionary here. The keys color, blue, model, Corvette, transmissions, manual, and the price is $200,000, right? So that's all right. But when you have more complex, right? Let's say for your model, you not only want a name, you want the year as well, right? That is sensible. Then you are using key value, but inside the value of the model, right? You are put in another dictionary here. Right? So this dictionary is a dictionary. So name, value, name, value. All right. So this is how you can use a dictionary in YAML. All right, so let's look at more complex example. Let's say you are very rich. You have 4 cars, right? Different colors, different years. Some of them are different price. Some of them are automatic. Some of them are manual, right? Right. So you got 4 different cars here, and each of them are equal to a dictionary, right? So if you want to put them as a list of dictionary, right, then you need to have a dash here. So it's very important to have a dash. Mean this is a list of stuff. All right. So technically, just put a list of stuff here, and that is gonna give you a list of dictionary. Okay, just like that. Okay, so technically like that. All right. So now, hopefully, you can get some gist or some idea of how we can write some YAML, right? So definitely for new people, it's very hard to wrap your head around this because you've been really used to JSON or XML, right? So writing YAML is like writing Python over again because Python care about space and tab and indentations. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the orders of items in dictionary or array list, right? So we talk about these array of stuff, and we talk about the dictionary stuff, right? So the items in the dictionary is unordered. What does it mean by that? It means that the order are not important. right? So let's look at this example here. So we have orange, and we have a bunch of nutritional value. Right? So imagine we care about that. So we have calories here, and we have fat here, we have carbs here, right? And if you are switching them around, so you're switching fat and carb around, right? They don't really care about that. So the dictionary are equal, the same, right? Just similar to like a normal dictionary. Like the order of the keys are not important, okay? But when it's come to array list, right, the order are important. So if you have an array of fruits, right, you got orange, banana, and apple, right? Similar to orange, apple, and banana. You are switching these places. So these lists are not the same, right? This is very important concept. Why? Because at the end of the day, you will usually store in the dictionary. We are usually store properties of stuff, right? And the order of the property is not important. So the only important is the value and the key are correct, right? But when it comes to array list, right? So Ansible using array list to store the order of a task. What task do I do first? What task do I do second? What task do I do third? What task do I do next? What task do I do last? So that's why the order are very important, because that affecting the order is going to execute the task on the target environment, right? So that's why the order of the array list going to be matter for the Ansible Playbook. All right. Hopefully, just keep that in mind. Yep. So we talk about Ansible for like nearly half an hour. Why? Because Ansible gonna using YAML for the playbooks, right? So let's look at this example, right? So this is the playbooks. This is the name of the playbooks, right? It's the name of the playbooks. Whatever you want. This is the host. The host is usually gonna be the name of the root that contain a bunch of IP address together, right? So that means that if you run this playbook, apply the execution task on all the server inside the root of the web server, right? So if you're changing one single line here, then let's say you change this one to different root, right? Then the playbook gonna apply all the execution on a different root of server, right? So this is a really easy way for you switching what is the target root of a server you want to apply for, and become user. So don't worry about this stuff. So when you want to when you want to run the playbook as a root user, then you need to have these two. Okay. In the lab, we don't really using this because we try the right path. So this is actually a lazy way, right? Make everything become root and everything be fine. But in the lab, we actually try the hard way. We do the proper way. We create a user, the Ansible user, just for running all the tasks, right? So definitely, if you want to be lazy and you don't want to like do the way the lab is a long way, to like create a user, set permission and stuff, you can make everything become root, and that's it, right? It's like run root as a root for everything, right? So that would be like saving the time, sure. All right, and then you have a task of list of tasks to execute, right? So this is a task here, sorry, and each of this is a list. You will learn about that. Each of this is a list of tasks, right? And it's got a name. So this is up to you. You can name to be meaningful, right? To actually telling the reader that what is the task about. Right? So this task to make sure that Apache are at the latest versions, right? So you can say yum, and then this is the module, right? Yum, and then the name is HTTPD. Right? So this is a very special service for Apache, right? Server. And the state here are very important, latest, right? So latest, we make sure that if the HTTP already latest, don't do anything about that. If it's not latest, then make sure it's latest, right? It's really nice way when you think about that. You don't need to write the complex bash script to make sure that your Apache is latest, right? If with bash script, right, you need to check the version first and then compare that to the latest versions. And if it's actually the same, then don't do anything. If it's actually smaller, then install the Apache, right? So that kind of complex. But this one say, hey, I just want to make sure that it's the latest version. That's it. Right, so that's really nice. Or this task say that ensure Apache is running, right? And you are using another module called service. And the service using the name, is having the name HTTPD, right? This is the Apache service name. And then the state here say started, right? All right, so in the chat, can you let me know why don't they use start instead of started? Right, the difference is only the ed. So why is that? So in the chat, can you think of the reason why they're using past tense instead of present tense? Right, so why are they using the ed here?
I know about that too.
Think about it. Why they're using past tense. Okay, this is not in English questions, right? It's more about why. What is the logic behind this past tense here for this specific word? Why they're using the ed for the start, not without start, so not without the ed. Any you can post, you can take comments in the chat when we discuss about it. So why do you think that the Ansible state is actually a past tense instead of just the present tense? Any idea? All right, people are pretty shy. All right. So what you think about, right? Similar to stay here. So stay here is the state we want to achieve. So when it comes to Ansible, it's all about we telling Ansible what we want, right? Instead of we telling it what to do. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that. For Ansible, it's all about telling Ansible what we want instead of telling it what to do. Okay, so instead of telling Ansible, hey, please install Apache to this version, no, we want, hey, I want to be the latest version, regardless what you want to do, what you need to do, just do it, right? So we're just telling it what we want, and it's gonna figure out how to achieve it, not to do it, right? Similarly, we want the Apache service already start. I'm like, hey, I don't care what you're gonna do. Make sure that it's already start running. So if already start running, then don't do anything about it, and Ansible don't do anything about it. But it haven't started running, then Ansible will make sure that it's got to start running, right? So it's gonna be start the Apache service. So that is a really nice way to think about everything in Ansible. Or everything we want is telling it what we want instead of telling it what to do. All right, so it's a perfect time to have a break and to play Kahoot, right? So the topic is Docker. All right, so have a 5 minute. Okay, let's have a. Let me think. So let's have a 10-minute break. Oh, no, Matthew doesn't like it. So let's have a 7-minute break. All right. So we're gonna get back at 9:27. Okay, break until typing the chat. Break until 9:27 a.m. Yep. And then meanwhile, I'm gonna open the Kahoot and make sure that you guys join in the Kahoot with the ping. All right. And then like usual, the top 3 winners gonna get some activity reward, and then at the end of the semester, they will receive the top 3 people gonna receive the free buffet voucher. All right, nice. All right, so let's do that. So let's open the Kahoot, and you can go for break. Okay, so let's share with Sal.
Dạ. Dạ, cảm ơn cô.
All right, so let's go for break, guys, for some minutes. All right, so let's get started. Let's go. All right, Dockers. Let's go. We have like I think 7 or 8 questions. Yep, it's 8 questions. What is a Docker file? What is a Docker file? Alright, so it's really straightforward, right? So a Docker file is just a text file, contain all the instructions or command that you want to build your image, right? So that's the link. Docker file is not an image, right? Because it's just a file. How can it be an image? Using Docker file, then you can create an image by running, right? So that is the answers. Good. All right, so the top 5 with Man, AB, Vic, Min, and Lin. Good job. All right, so definitely not this, right? So this is always the one inside, right? This is always the right hand side, always the one inside the container. This is always the one outside, right? So we want to map the port 80 inside the container to the port 5001 outside container, right? So the answer is A, the first answers. Right, so let's see who got it correct. Oh my God, Min was jumping from nowhere to the second place. Good job, Min. Good job. What is the third questions? So what is the correct describe for the Docker container? All right, easily, right? Easily. Definitely, it's not a package, right? So it's definitely not an online registry, right? It's also not a text file, right? It's an instant. Remember, it's an instant of an application created by Docker image. Why we call it instant? Because you can create multiple different Docker container from the same image, right? That's why we call them an instant only from the Docker image. All right, that's pretty nice. Okay, so the top 3 is Man, Min, and Vic. Good job, guys. All right, let's continue. So what is the syntax can be used to create an image from a Docker file? Okay, so clearly, that's alright, be wrong, but the correct answer to be build, right? So when you are building an image from Docker file, you are using Docker build. All right, that's it. Nice. And then if you want to build an image with a specific tag, you do the columns, the tag names. right? Just in case you're gonna know about it. So we're gonna definitely learn more about this in this lab when we're gonna create the same image with different tag name, v1, v2, and then the latest tag. Actually, you can name the tag to be whatever you want. The tag is only allow you to distinguish the different image, right, of the same name. All right, so Min got 3 straight answers correct. Good job, Min. And Man, so the top 3, Man, Min, and Vic. Good job, everyone. So what is the command allow you to list the inactive and active running containers? All right, so that's pretty straightforward, right? So definitely Docker PS only display the running container only, right? But we want to display everything, right? All the container running or not running, could be terminate, could be stop, could be running, right? So we have to do -A. -A stands for all, display all the container. All right, so we got a new top 3, and Vic and Min. All right, 6. What is the Docker instructions in the Docker file? Indicate what is the base image to use to build an image form, right? Remember, you write a Docker file, and what is the first line? Yep, so we are using form, right? Straightforward. Remember, every single Docker file should start with form. What base image you want to build your image form, right? So need to have that. I think we're using form CentOS, right? And then also we're using form Tomcat, right? And then in the assignment you might using form form Dockers or form Jenkins. Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Vic, Man, and Min. All right. The second last questions. So what is the relationship between Docker image and Docker container? All right, and G gonna have some food for us. Okay, pretty straightforward. So like I mentioned before, so Docker container is a running instance of the image, right? So definitely Docker container is not used to start an image, Docker image, right? It's the other way around, right? Docker image is the image allow you to launching a different container based on that same image. All right, good. Top 3. All right, we have 2 men in the second place and the first place. All right, Man, we got 5 straight answers correct. Good job, Man. Last questions. What is a command to delete all the container already stored? So this command already delete the container that already stored. Okay, so Docker prompt, right? So this can delete all the container that is already stopped or not running, right? So this one is remove, force remove container. This one is remove the image, right? So I stand for image. All right, so all good. Let's see who's the top 3. All right, Min NCA. Top 2 is Min NPQ. And the champion is Man. All right, good job, 3 winners. Can you guys please enter your name and the student number in the chat so that I will make sure that I add the point for you guys. I say yes, Man, Min, to me. Can you say your name and the student ID in the chat? So Min, okay, I'm confused. So Min Wing, which one you are? Are you in second place or the first place? Oh, Min QA. All right, so Min Okay, min ring gonna plus 2. Alright, the other min plus 1. And then man plus 3. Alright, good job everyone. I make sure that I note down into my special spreadsheets for that. Alright, hope you have fun. Okay, so a lot of people were confused about this question. Alright, all good. That's it. Pretty nice. Okay, alright, so let's go through this one quickly together. So let's talk about the Ansible Playbooks, right? So we learned about Yum for like last 20 minutes, right? And we know that Ansible are using Yum as a playbook. So what is a playbook then? So a playbook is a single Yum file, okay? So a play is a set instruction that you want to be run on the target server, okay? And a task is an action that you want to perform on the target server. A task could be, give you an example, could be about execute a command, could be about running a script, or could be about installing a package, or just simply you want to shut down or you want to reset the server, right? So this is an example of task. So let's look at this playbook here, play one. So the target here are localhost, right? If you want to just, run this playbook on the same machine, then you can run on localhost. The first task to execute the date command, right? Very straightforward. Command date. I'm going to print out the time and date of the server. If you want to run the script on the server, you can just say script, test script bash script, .sh. And then if you want to make sure that you got the you install the HTTP service, then you say present mean make sure that there is a service already installed. And similarly, like we mentioned before, you want to start the service, you say that I want to be start, mean I want to be already running. So you're going to start the service. So we're going to do this one first, second, third, and 4 here, right? So that was the order of the play. All right, and this the whole 4 thing here gonna run on the local host. Okay, and the name here is play 1. So up to you what name you want to name it. All right, so let's talk about the inventory, right? So inventory is a very special file that defines all the machine involved in the task executions. All right, so the nice thing is you can group machines together into a group. So when you want to run a playbook, you can apply that into the whole group. So this is your current IP address of your current machines, okay? This is your local host. And then we have a root server. Sorry, this server, so this is a root of web server. So the name here is up to you, right? And then these are the domain names here. So technically the domain name is gonna be an IP address where we translate that. So for example, we have the canvas mit.edu.vn here, or we have the mywebsite.com.vn here, right? Or we can have a root of server that only take care of database only responsible for database. Right? We have a 2. This is the IP address of these 2 database server. And similarly, let's say we have some server just to be responsible for Docker server, right? So only responsible for Docker. Then you can have these 2 IP address for Docker, right? So in the play, remember you can define the host name to make sure that to say that, hey, I want to run this playbook on this specific group of server, right? So if you define host name to be web server, then the play is going to be applied on these server. So if you define them to be database, right? And then when you run the play will be applied for the group of server. And similarly, if you say to be a Docker server and run the playbooks, then the playbook going to be applied for these servers, right? So really straightforward. And imagine you have 10 different server or 100 different server. The only thing that's longer is this file. That's it. That is how you manage a different file, a different server in Ansible, right? By just add the IP address of them in the inventory, right? So everything you can see that very simple. The playbook is really simple, and you can just apply them on a number of servers that you want, right? Which is nearly impossible to do in Jenkins, right? If we only have Jenkins only, so the Jenkins are not really ideal for this task to manage 100 different servers. All right. The nice thing about this is Ansible got a bunch of modules. So you can consider a module to be a small program to do a very specific task. It could be about if you want to start a cloud instance, or you want to start a Docker container, or maybe you want to start a server, or you want to copy or create a file, or you want to create a new database, or you can create a new table in the database, right? You can see here that we have a bunch of modules here, right? And these modules are focused on different tasks. If you open this, let's say you are more worried about, I don't know, maybe files. You're like, hey, I want to copy files. I want to create a new file. What can I do? Yeah, so if you want to copy files here, you can look to copies. And this actually is telling you that, the example here, like if you want to copy from a source to destinations, right? And then you can also set a root and the owner of the file, really convenient compared to bash script. For bash script, this one you have to using ch only, right? Complex stuff. But this one is really straightforward, right? And you can see that every single module you can find here. Or you want to read a CSV, hey, why not? I want to read a CSV. Then just look at this example. So just install the module called read CSV. You put in the path, the keys, and everything. Read CSV for you, for example. Or you want to be worried about, I don't know, let's say database, right? You're like, hey, I really want Ansible to work with database. And you're like, hey, I can look into my SQL because I love my SQL, for example. Then you can look at this one. For example, this is an example where you can create a new database with the name Bob data, right? The state is present, right? And then if you want to dump, right? I mean, you list the database, you can say dump, and you put the name of the database in. And if you want to list the database, you can as well. Yeah, stuff like that. You can see that it's actually really powerful. And if you want to deal with, like, say, hey, I want to add and remove user from my SQL database, you can look at the example here, right? So, yeah, so let's create, look at more. Yep, so create a user with username with Bob, and the password is 12345 with all the database privileges here. Bob 12345, this present. If you only learn database course before, you know that this is way simpler compared to you have to type in MySQL command like MySQL create user blah 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 blah, right? So this is actually really straightforward, really nice. Okay, and you can do that for all the, let's say you have 10 different servers and you want to create the same Bob user, you can actually write that into the Ansible playlist and apply that on these 10 different servers, and that's done for you, right? Instead of like copy the command MySQL into 10 different servers. All right. So yeah, whatever you want, they actually have a lot of modules for you to, like, you know, make you happy and satisfy the need for the server. All right, so let's look at other example of module example. So I wouldn't talk too much about this because some of them you don't really need them, but I just wanted to let you guys see some example of different modules, right? So we have a Postgres SQL, right? So for example, remove table full to bar, right? So you can say, rename. So the table is full, you want to rename to bar, that's it. Super straightforward way, right? And then if you want to set the owner to someone else, you can say owner is full and the owner is someone else, okay? Or you want to truncate the tables, full mean that remove all data, all the rows inside the table full. You can say name full, truncate, yes, that's it. right? There is no complex command whatsoever, right? And if you want to create a Jenkins job, right, you can do this. Or you want to delete a Jenkins job, you can do that, right? So you can see that the command here are way less complex compared to others. Definitely, we don't really need to use Ansible for Jenkins. Right? We in this course, I refer you guys using the graphic user interface of Jenkins, so it's nicer, right? But definitely other very high level stuff, right? You want to do everything through Ansible, right? Everything clean. And all right, so and Docker as well. So if you want to create Docker containers, instead of write a Docker commands, you can write Ansible playbooks like this. So Docker container, the name of my containers, the image I want to create a Docker container from, and the volume here. You haven't really touched much about volume, but don't worry about this one. Okay, so the name and the image only, straightforward. And similarly, if you start Docker, you can do this command as well, stuff like that. All right, so everything you want, there is a module for that in Ansible. The thing is, so far, we've been able to okay, let's look at the lab, right? So yep, so look at the lab for a bit. So before this is our pipeline in the previous lab where we learned Docker, right? You can see that, so let's see our Jenkins server, right? We got some file that we want to commit, and then we push that into GitHub, right? And Jenkins gonna pull the code from GitHub, and then maybe gonna build the project, right? And then Jenkins gonna copy the word artifact into the Docker server, right? And then we're gonna let Jenkins to tell Jenkins that you need to tell the Docker server to build the Docker image from a Docker file, right? Then we have Docker image, and then later on we say, hey, I want you to build a Docker container from this Docker image, and then serve the website. All right, so you can see that so far so good for that. So why we need to have Ansible, and what is the advantage of using Ansible compared to Docker command, right? Because you know that we could write some Ansible Dockers right here to create a container, or we can use the command whatever, right? But what is the advantage here? Like to write everything in playbooks compared to just type in the Docker command or Docker file, right? So let's think about this. So if you have a Docker file, so Docker file definitely contain your app.world file, which are your artifact, right? And then inside Docker file here, you might install some web server, which is our Tomcat, right? And then we're gonna have some file, configuration file. You might have some environment variables, and then at the entry point, you want to start the server, right? Whenever you launch the container, you want to start the Tomcat server to serving this app world file based on the port number you want, right? That's fine. So this is actually perfect if you want to launching the container from the Docker image, right? Or Docker file from the Docker image. But if you do the same thing using the Ansible Playbook, the nice thing is everything is controlled by module, right? It's actually another layer of abstractions. So not only this one is going to work for Docker container, it's going to work for variance container. That's another type of container. It also works for AWS. It's also work for bare metal, right? Imagine you want to like install stuff on bare metal, it's also work for that, right? So that's why Ansible Playbook, because we are using module, it's actually very flexible, and we write less code, and actually we can apply the same playbook for multiple different environment applications. So this is actually for the future, right? Not for this course, because we don't really have time to go through each type of different target environment. But I do let you know that Ansible Playbook are very flexible and powerful. And also another advantage of Ansible Playbook is, so if you are using Docker, then you only control what inside the Docker container, right? But because you are using Ansible Playbooks, right, it's control the whole server on the top level. This means that not only you can use Ansible Playbook to create a container, right? You also can control all the things of the server, like storage, like network, like firewall, whatever you want on the server. So using Ansible Playbook, you have more control, not only on the container level, but also on the whole server level. All right, so this is actually really powerful. All right, so that's why we learn about Ansible, because we want that flexibility. We want to write the playbook that can give us everything, right? Containers, the storage, the network, the maybe create database, whatever you want, right? So that's why Ansible Playbook is really powerful. Allow you to like write less, do more. Okay, all right. So this is what we had before in previous lab. All right, so everyone was happy about that. We're like, hey, we already write the Dockers, and with Dockers, not only we don't need to install manually step by step for every single server anymore, right? Because without Dockers, you need to literally install everything line by line by line. But now with Docker 5, and then we can build based on the base image of like Tomcat, you are reduce that complexity by just do everything with Docker file and Docker container, right? So if you have a new server, you can just using the same Docker file and then just like launching the container on that new server. But that's all right. If you have 1 or 2 server, that's all right. But think about that, right? Think about when you have 100 server or 10 different server, right? So previously, that is fine. But the current CI/CD are not good enough, right? Why? Because we are using Jenkins for both as a continuous iteration and continuous deployment. What does it mean by that? It means that for the continuous iteration, we're using Jenkins to build with Maven, right? Correct. And then for continuous deployment, we are also using Jenkins to actually, telling the Docker server to like build the container and also get up and running, right? So Docker do too many jobs, right? And you look at this one. So this is what we do before Ansible or without Ansible. That in the target server, you have to like go to that. You have to build that image. You have to stop the container if they're already running, and then you have to remove the image that the container is already running, and then you can build a new container based on that, right? Imagine you have 10 server. How can you do this? Maybe you repeat this 10 times, right? If you have 3 server, you have to repeat this 3 times, right? Based on each of the server. Too complex, right? Too complex. So that's why Jenkins actually only work best as a continuous iteration only, right? So if you are dealing a more complex setup with multiple target environments of different server, then Jenkins is like figure out, doesn't know what to do, right? So Jenkins, we're gonna keep it simple and say, hey, you are doing best as the continuous iterations only, right? For continuous deployment, then we need to introduce Ansible, which is a very nice configuration management tool, allow us to handle the updated change of the multiple target system environment. So with Ansible, you can see that instead of like do all the manual stuff, you're like, hey, can you run the playbooks of build and push YAML file? So build and push YAML file is really straightforward. Build and push YAML file is like, it's gonna build the, so it's gonna build the Docker image from the Docker file with the artifact, right? And then push that into the Docker Hub remotely, right? And then make sure that it's lit for 15 seconds, right? Because I don't want this one to run and then while pushing to Docker Hub, this one run right away. So I just want to make sure there's a nice gap of time between these two play. And then I run the second play, which is pulling the image from Docker Hub and create a container from that. Right, so I technically have 2 play. And if I have 100 server, this one change? No, right? So technically, if I have 100 servers, I just need to change the inventory file. Nothing changed here. I do the same thing for this, and I do the same thing for that. So technically, I save my time a lot of trouble by delegate all the deployment responsibility to Ansible instead of like ask the Jenkins to do everything. All right. So this is before Ansible. This is actually after Ansible. You can see that there's a big difference in terms of code. And so exactly that is why we're gonna have this specific lab, right? So we still have the Jenkins server, right? We still keep the Docker server, but now we're gonna have another new server called Ansible server, right? So Ansible server only have the responsibility to run some playbooks. Okay, so let's look at the flow again. Sorry, let's drink some water. There's no water. All right. Okay, so give me a second. Let me get some water and come back.
Yes, please. Wait a minute.
All right, so let's take a step back and let's walk through everything. All right, so when you make a change in your project, you commit your code, right? On a local it push this into your GitHub, right? And then that actually trigger Jenkins. So Jenkins gonna pull the code from GitHub to this. All right, and then Jenkins gonna build the project with Mavens, okay? And then similarly, because we already learned about Jenkins job, right? We can actually copy the artifact over to the different server. So we copy the artifact of our web server, web application artifact to this Ansible server. This Ansible server gonna have a Docker file, right? With the artifact and Docker files, we're going to have the Ansible Playbooks, and these playbooks allow us to create the Docker image, right? And also this playbook going to push the image to the Docker Hub, right? Which is like totally online, right? And then after it's doing this job, right? It's waiting for like 10 to 15 seconds to make sure that Docker Hub is ready and ready to like receive the request to pull the image from. It's gonna pulling the second playbooks in the Ansible server. Right, so this is actually the deployment playbooks. This playbooks is telling this Docker server to actually can you deploy the container, but with what image, right? So it's actually pull the image from Docker Hub. Oh, okay, nice. So this can pull the image from Docker Hub. And that is going to serve the server, serve the website. All right. So imagine now you have another Docker server, right, to be serving for the website. Then nothing changed really. You need to change the inventory inside your Ansible server, and this is going to control this as well. Imagine you have 10 different server, and that is going to apply that for all that. This playbook going to apply for all the server that you have, right? Imagine you have another server right here, here, and here. So this playbook is really powerful. It can apply that for any number of server, right? So imagine this is the production server where the client can see the code. And also we have another server called development server, right? If you want another server, and this server is only the developer can see the website, right? Imagine that. So that's really straightforward. And yeah, so in the playbook need to like changing one single line, like, hey, it's not deploy on the target server, and if you want to deploy on, it's not deploy on production level. So this is the productions server where the client can see your website. I just want to deploy that into the development server where only the dev can see the website, and I just need to change one single line in the host inside my playbooks. Instead of like maybe productions, I change that to one B dev in the development environment, and that's it, right? So this is very close to our ultimate CI/CD pipeline already. Yep, very close to that already. Yep. So yeah, so with this pipeline, you can now imagine you have like 10 different servers for dev, the development environment, and 20 different servers for production environment. No problem, right? So you can handle that with Ansible by changing the list of IP address inside the inventory, and that's it, right? So yeah, so that's actually a really nice pipeline we have so far, right? And you can see that this is why the people outside the industry, they pay a lot of money for DevOps, because it's complex. It's going to be way more complex than anything you learned so far, right? Think about mobile development, think about web developments, right? These are easy stuff compared to DevOps. Because with DevOps, not only you need to know a lot about Linux, Bash script, build tool, Jenkins, Docker, Ansible, and also need to know about the cloud environment for AWS, for Azure, right? And maybe for Google Cloud Service, and how we can talk using the IP address, using the port number, and also write all the Bash script stuff. Right? So that's why usually the pay for DevOps is really high. I would say that a more senior DevOps, they got paid around $5,000 in Vietnam. Right? This is like clearly very good money for you guys. If you are into money, right, definitely you want to like be good at DevOps, because this is really leverage, right? Not many people they can do DevOps. There's a lot of people are doing web developments, right? Full stack web developments. So that's why you can see. Let me see. What is the survey? I think. Vietnam developer salary survey. I try to remember where I see that. Okay, so I can't remember that, but I can tell you that that the number 1 and number 2 salary positions I belong to data. Right, I can't remember, data scientist and data engineer, right? So these are the hot job. Not many people can do it. Right? It's high salary, and then the third highest salary in Vietnam would be DevOps, right? And then what about mobile and web development? Maybe 5 or 6 or 7, something like that. Would be like full stack web. And then mobile, I think number 8 is something, mobile development. All right, so this is the landscape of salary job in Vietnam right now. So definitely data is really hot, right? But data is challenging as well, right? So for data scientists, they usually only want to hire the people with a PhD, right, a master's degree. But for data engineer, also difficult because you need to know the pipeline as well. So similar DevOps. So for data engineer, you need to know DevOps plus data, right? So data engineer. And then third position up in the market will be DevOps. So definitely it's not too hard right now to do the full stack web developments and mobile, right? Just because there are too many people, they can do it now. And the market, the demand supply, right? So there's too many supply, the demand stay the same, then the salary gonna lower. Definitely, it's a really good opportunity for you guys to look into DevOps and data. Okay, so you guys are on the right track. Good job. All right, so that's why it's complex, very complex. A lot of stuff going on. DevOps is kind of niche. Can you explain what does it mean by niche? I understand niche is like for a small market, right? A very niche company. So definitely the number of jobs available for DevOps is definitely smaller compared to the number of jobs available for web developments and mobile developments. But still, if you are pretty good and you can find a job, then the salary is pretty high, right? Because of the supply and demand theory, right? If you learn about economy, you know about that. All right, so, all right, perfect, right? So we have around 10 or 15 minutes left. So let's have some fun here. So definitely, I don't want to go through the lab. I just want to give you guys a heads up. The lab for this week is a bit long, right? And also a bit complex. So that's why I actually urge you guys to come to the lab on time, right? I saw a lot of people that come late and then they don't have enough time to cover the lab, right? Definitely, you can finish this within 2 hours. So if you come late for an hour or 1 hour, definitely you don't have time to finish this. And yeah, so Ansible are gonna be a big part of assignment 3. So make sure that you gonna come and do it. All right. So and also based on the schedule, we're gonna have the assignment 3 releasing next week, right? So assignment 3 is a group project. So that's why I want you guys to looking for your teammate early on now, right? Because eventually the deadline for the team registration will be the end of week 9. So right now you have roughly around 2 weeks to find a teammate, right? And then I also help you guys to make this page, right? So technically, please try your best to fill in this information for your full name, student ID, and also choose a group name. For the people who struggle, right, who don't really have a lot of friends or who struggle to find teammates, then you can fill in your information in these sheets, right? Finding random teammates. So by doing this, you allow other people to be in the same situation with you, to find you and to actually pick you up, right? And also I want at least 3 or 4 people. So for example, team 1 doesn't have 3 or 4 people, right? And you guys don't really know anyone to fill in. You can say finding a random teammate, right? For example, by doing this, other people who actually struggle to actually find teammate, they can just email these people and then join team together. Why I'm doing this? Because I find this actually more efficient than you are posting finding a teammate on confessions or like on Facebook, right? Because on Facebook, like, well, guess what? 80% people don't really read your post, and 90% of these people read your post. They're not in the same class, and 50% of these people who read your post in the same class, they already have a team, right? So think about that numbers percentage, right? So that's really low. If you want to find a teammate, you post it on social media. So it's better for you to post it here and to be active about that, because everyone in the same class must see this page, this spreadsheet. And then also the people who struggle to find a teammate, you can actually post information here, and the people who want to find a teammate to fill in your team also can look at here. So this is a more centralized way to actually mix and match these demands of people who want a team and the people who want extra team member in your team. All right, so make sure you do that. All right, finding a teammate is actually a key, I would say the key factor to do good in assignment 3. So start early. All right, cool stuff. All right, so lecture. Okay, so we have around 10 minutes left. So let's actually practice some very simple warm-up Ansible games. All right, definitely the lab, we're gonna go straight to the hardcore stuff. I'm gonna apply the Ansible to our pipeline, which is a bit complex. So we can have fun with this one first. All right, so you can just open these links and we're gonna have fun. Okay, so imagine this is a really nice interactive game of Cove Cloud. I really like it. I hope you guys also spend time to look into it. So for each of the topic, I have a bunch of questions, and you can see the hints, you can see the solutions, and you can submit solutions to see if you're correct or not, right? For example, I have this inventory file contain a bunch of different server. They ask me, say, hey, add another server inside. Imagine it's a server for .company.com, right? So let's all right, I passed this. All right, cool, really easy stuff. Next questions. All right, so okay, it's asked me to do this, to add the nickname, right? Alias is a nickname, so they will do it from 1, 2, and 3, right? So yep, so you can call them to be web 1, web 2, and web 4. You can follow that, and this one is web server 4 right here. Oh, sorry, DB1. They want to be DB1. Perfect. You pass the things again. So as you can see that it's getting more and more complex, right? So if you stop, you can see the hints. Let's look at the other one, be more straightforward. So YAML, right? So this is for you to play around with YAML. Can you practice YAML? So dictionary with the properties 1 and value 1. So add another properties 2, value 2. All right. Copy that, change to be 2, value 2. Okay, pass. Next one. Okay, so you know the idea now. So actually, it's very simple, and you got the right interactive. Like you can see your resource correct or wrong right away. So it's actually a very nice way for you to like play around with Ansible Playbooks and YAML, right? It's also teaching you on the topic as well. So you can see that this is the links. This is the games for you to play around and to see if you can pass all the tests for the inventory, right? If you got stuck, you can look into the solution buttons, right? If you stuck, for example here, you say, hey, I don't know what to do with this. You can view the solutions. Okay, very easy, right? So this is actually focused on inventory. This is focused on YAML file. This is focused on playbooks. This is focused on different modules. This topic, I haven't really talked about that because I don't think it's too important, and also we don't have time, right? But for Ansible, similar for bash script, you can actually have a variable conditional if else, right? To make sure that you have more flexibility when it comes to your playbooks, right? Okay. So yeah. All right, so definitely I want you guys to go through these 6 different links before you go to lab, right? To make sure that you warm up with YAML, inventory, and the playbook, and the module, and the variable. These 2 are optional, right? For the lab, definitely don't need this at all, right? But it's also good to know that you can use variable and condition. And also there's another topic called loop as well. You can write a loop inside Ansible, but that's too much, right? All right, so let's end the lab slightly early, right? So that you guys like gonna have a time to like do your assignment too, and also to play around with this before the lab. All right. So once again, try your best to go to the lab early because this week lab is a bit long. It's a bit long. And I try my best to actually note down all the steps already as clear as I can, right? All right, so all good. Any question? Any question before we start off for today? Right, so DevOps definitely very challenging, very complex, but I think it's really worth it if you want to build a long career around it because the salary is quite high. right, in Vietnam. So definitely it's actually way higher compared to full stack web development on mobile, because web and mobile are easy compared to DevOps for sure. All right, so if you have a questions, you can send email to me, right? By the way, don't send me chat on MS Team, right? Because I don't really check my chat in MS Team, right? Also, it's not a really formal way or official way to ask for support. I will check my email almost every day or every 2 days to answer your question. So the best way to ask for my support is through emails, all right? Cool. And also try your best to put the code of the course in the title so that I know which course are you talking about, because I'm teaching 2 courses for this semester, right? So sometimes your question confuse me, like, are you in this class or that class? All right, all good. If nothing else, then have a nice day, guys, and try your best to start the assignment too early. All right, I will try my best to hopefully finish marking the assignment 1 this week or next week. Okay, because I've got a lot of assignment to mark. Try my best to do it. Okay, stay tuned for that. All right, see you on Thursday, Vic. All right, have fun, guys.
Ok. Thank you thầy. Không. Coi gì á em? Em coi gì vậy?
Quảng cáo một phút. Điện thoại. Được chưa?
Ok. Có vẻ ổn áp em, nhưng mà cũng không biết được. Let's see. Bà anh để lộn tác rồi. Đợi chút, sửa code lại chút. Để lộn tác rồi, đợi chút nha. Ai đấy? Đợi một chút nha, có một con bug nhỏ, phải con bug mà anh viết sai. Sửa lại rồi test. Hôm qua con không được, nhưng mà hôm nay chắc là được đó. Hôm nay ngủ dậy cảm thấy phấn chấn, chắc được. Cảm thấy ủ rũ không được. Gì vậy? Quá lâu dữ vậy. Captcha. chơi thú thật. Ok, đợi 3 phút nha. Có ai có ý định đi nước ngoài không?
Dạ,
Có ai có ý định đi nước ngoài không?
có em.
Em hả?
Dạ.
Em tính đi đâu?
Chắc tính đi Úc.
Úc hả? Ok. Tính học lên hả?
Dạ.
Ừ. Thích. Mẹ. Dạ. Để cho. Mấy này gãi đầu nhiều quá. Bông chóc trên đầu quá hay đâu. Ok. Ok, chạy đó mọi người, vô thôi. Link này mọi người.
Đâu anh?
Nhớ mail hết mọi thứ bên đây nha, tắt hết mọi thứ bên đây. Anh tạo room nha, coi thử coi được không. Room là Minh.
Mình chỉ thường thôi.
Viết thường. Alo, alo. 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 Ngon lắm. Có vẻ như chưa được. Không ơi. Fail rồi. Nó không hiện kia lên nữa. Ủa khoan. Khoan, cái code mới của anh chưa lên, code cũ. Vậy ta? Code mới chưa lên. Code cũ mà. Tắt website đó đi. Code mới chưa lên, code đang ở cái trên website rồi, đang là code cũ. Code mới anh mới đổi lại. Không biết sao nó chưa ăn. Code trên đó là code cũ. Không biết có mất gì không mà bữa sao nó để được chạy code cũ rồi. Để xem nè. Bên kia vẫn đang là code cũ. Ok, cái code mới này nè. Vô thử coi em. Cái code mới này đó, tắt trang web đi mở lại. Giờ mới có code mới nè, nãy vẫn là code cũ, giờ code mới có nè. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. Ủa Lan rồi ta? Trên đích rồi. Nút ơi.
Alo, em đang ở trong phòng á, em nói anh có nghe thấy không? Để em tắt vào Discord.
Em vô phòng 1 nha. Em đang phòng nào vậy?
Em mở phòng Minh.
Sai rồi, vô phòng 1 đi. Tắt cái website mở lại, tại nãy anh kêu hơi sớm, cái website chưa có deploy xong, nó vẫn đang là code cũ. Giờ mới có code mới nè. Anh đang chạy code mới này nè. Hy vọng cái này được. Hope it work.
Để em ở trong phòng 1 nha.
Nhớ tắt thì mở lại nha. Em share screen được không? A B C D E F G H I J K M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z. Now we bam. Oh, right. Forgot about that too. Ok, em Ctrl F12 đi. Ctrl F12 thử. Mở cái dev tool lên đó. Ctrl F12 á, hoặc là em inspect cũng được.
Cái này
Đúng rồi. 3 cái phần element đó. Mở cái div, mở cái thẻ div ID root cho anh. Cái thẻ đó đúng rồi. Mở ra. Mở ở bên trong luôn. Mở lên bên trong luôn. Mở luôn. Kéo xuống. Đó có video kìa, em sổ xuống đây, em bấm sổ xuống. Rồi ok. Đợi chút nha. Lên cho lại thôi. Có vẻ như nó không có add thêm video của người khác vào. Ok, make sense. I wonder ABC. Bây giờ mà em cũng đâu nghe nói gì đâu, tại vì có cái video của anh với em mà. Đây. Ok, được rồi. Chưa thành công ngoài. Để bữa khác test tiếp em. Chưa có thành công. Ok, thank you. Qua anh kia học đi em. Được rồi. Chưa thành công. Nó không tự add thêm video, vậy là chưa được. Should have add. It's not.
Tức là cái software architecture. Software architecture đó, anh tính biết vẽ gì đấy.
Không em. Sơ à. Cái đó chưa bao giờ vẽ, hình dung trong đầu thì có nhưng mà chưa bao giờ vẽ ra.
Ok, có gì em không vẽ hàng ngày. Trong cái family report là có vẽ.
Rồi cũng đó mình vẽ cũng được. Rồi anh biết cái đó rồi. Được, anh vẽ được á. Ý là anh chưa học cách vẽ thôi, nhưng mà trong đầu đã hình dung ra rồi.
Anh thì anh vẽ cho em.
Ok, để danh nghiên cứu anh vẽ. Sao mở vài cái tim không lên? Bye bye.
But for cases like multimedia, like Facebook posts, like data stream or whatever, NoSQL is a very good choice because they don't care about the accuracy much. Right? So you read a newspaper, right? There will be some text, and if you lose some text, then maybe not a big problem. When you post a comment on Facebook, you know, if some comment deleted or not consistent, very classical questions, and if you are IT student, you must know it, right? No answer. Can you provide the answer, please? Other people? Yes. Facebook use MySQL for the database. You're surprised because among a database system, MySQL is the poorest, one of the worst database systems in terms of security, in terms of performance, in terms of storage, in terms of architecture, in terms of everything. MySQL is the worst database. It's open source, it's free, however, it's not a good database. But Facebook, on the other hand, is a super huge system. If you compare numbers of active users, maybe Facebook is the number one. And compared to the numbers of interaction happens on Facebook, I think it's still be number one. You don't check your email every minute, right? But you may check your Facebook very often. So Facebook was developed based on a hobby of some amateurs who have no kind of special software engineering skills. And Mark Zuckerberg, he knows a bit about PHP and MySQL, and he can use that one to build. And when it's go wrong and it's getting more complicated, he hires someone to build it for him. And when they get investment, they have money to hire, best employee. And those employees come and re-architect the Facebook. They introduce a database cluster. They introduce a cat system, and they introduce a draft query, whatever, to optimize, right? They access the storage of the system. For image storage, because maybe 90% of the bandwidth on Facebook is about video and picture, right? So they also have very good CDN system to store image, right, and video and so on. So they optimize everything. Database cluster is a very important concept, right, where they can have the parallel, storage and parallel processing for their database. But most of the most of the view and you write the command and you view the command, read and write, happen at the cache level. So you post a message, you post a status, it's guaranteed that, you know, it will not go to the database, it will go to the cache system. So it's instantly, you know, viewable by other user. However, after some time, you know, the data will be returned to a database. And when user access the data, you know, most likely they will get the data from the cache, which is can be 1,000 times faster than the database. That's why even they use MySQL database, but this one is really just for long-term storage. It's not for kind of daily, you know, daily timeline, you know, showing. Okay, that's a long story to say that, you know, even the worst technology still works very well if you have enough funding. Okay, so there will no super real technology. You know that with the same MySQL, right? Deploy on AWS. AWS have a kind of clone called Aurora database, and they guarantee that Aurora database will be 10 times faster with the same hardware. Aurora version of the MySQL will be 10 times faster than the MySQL. Okay, 10 times faster with the same hardware. And with the Postgre, they can boost the performance to be like 3 times faster. So there's a lot of room for optimize MySQL. Okay, MongoDB. Why we select MongoDB? There will be plenty of NoSQL database, and MongoDB just one. On AWS, they offer something called DynamoDB. So all of them are just a key value, right? Or document storage. Key value means every object you store in the database have a key, and you use that key. It's like primary key. You use that key to access the object. The object can be anything. Object can be a list, can be Scala values, can be number, can be multiple attributes, and so on. So MongoDB is a document database. So every record is a record they stored in a document. And because of the concept of document, it's a flexible way of store any kind of structure data. In C++, this is no surprise because almost every compiler database are written with C++, to be honest. Do you know why? I ask you a very common question because, you know, you are ITLS student who I suppose will know very well about, you know, how the computer science world is constructed. Why C++? I know that someone might study C++ in the advanced programming technique, right? But why C++? Okay. Maybe it's not very different use case like 3 times then you would prefer over the others. Just choose the one you like. Just pointer. Okay. You write and you may not write. So with C++, we can access directly to the memory, right? Or it will be very low level, very close to machine, you know. So it can have lots of optimization that high level like Java or scripting language like PHP, JavaScript cannot do. Okay, and traditionally, you know, the whole computer science platform language are written in C++. Then we have a team, right, of developers who work with C++ already. So that's why we cannot switch to another language, right? Of course, now we have lots of new language like Go, Golang, and so on. However, C++ is the key, right? Okay, so MongoDB store data like in a JSON. So you probably learned JSON a lot, right? You know, and so JSON is the standard format to store. So they store document in a JSON format. This is good because it can be consumable by other language like JavaScript, Java, and so on. Right? Okay, so what else I can mention here? It supports, lots of advanced features like ad hoc query. You can query any fields. This is a very good feature because with DynamoDB, you cannot query anything except the primary key. Is it sad to hear? It's very sad to hear that, right? But that's a problem. Okay, so before we continue, I think we'll go to create an account on MongoDB, right? I would like to show you MongoDB Atlas. So this is a cloud MongoDB. So everyone please go and create an account for me here, please. Okay. So you go and create an account here, and then I'll show you some demo. I don't want to make a lecture too long. Okay. So you can sign in with Google or create a new account if you want. MongoDB Atlas is a cloud-based MongoDB. You can test it without installing it. Good win. But other people, they do it. Anyone who haven't got MongoDB Atlas account? Okay, please do it.
Nghe nè.
Hiện giờ trong cái của mình là đã làm được những cái gì rồi nhỉ? Function đó.
Mail nè. Leave room nè. Nhưng mà gọi cho nhau thì chưa được. Mấy cái khác cũng đó, upload hình được rồi nè. Nhưng mà chưa thấy của nhau được. Rồi interactive whiteboard luôn. Không, ân làm á cái đó. Interactive whiteboard nghĩa là vẽ màu này màu kia, xóa sửa gì trên hình đều được, nhưng mà nó không có real time thôi, nó chuyển về một tí thôi.
Cái QR code mình còn làm thế không?
QR code hả? QR code thì bên backend làm rồi, nhưng mà bên client chưa có làm.
PDF có làm
không? Chưa làm đó em.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can see that many people have done it, right? Okay, good. Who else haven't done it? Can you raise your hand, please? So I will know how many people.
debug từng chỗ một luôn.
Okay. Who else? Who else haven't? Okay, I assume anyone. Good. Let's continue. I see some questions from students here. Maybe I answer before we move on. Where is it here? Yeah. Who asked? Do these different databases have different use case? I'm not sure you're asking among NoSQL or SQL. You asked if your question is like whether it's when we should use MySQL or PostgreSQL, SQL Server or Oracle, right? So in that case, it depends on the requirement, right? For some very big and advanced system like banking, they will use Oracle. But for some software that developed by using C#, .NET technologies, they prefer to use SQL Server. And if you don't have money, if you are poor, you can start by using PostgreSQL. MySQL is used by many projects and many companies. It's also free, however, it's a bit more simple, to use than PostgreSQL. So that's why, it depends on the team's preference and team's capacity. They'll select appropriate technologies. Okay. But if you ask, whether we should select between MySQL or NoSQL, I think the use case is very clear, right? For banking application, for any critical like student math, student rate, first of all, we should use something very serious, right? But for like multimedia website, social network, and so on, we might just use, the NoSQL, and that's enough. You already have a knowledge on SQL database, so how to map it with the NoSQL. A database, right? A database between NoSQL and SQL is the same, right? They call it a database. So database is a set of table, right? A set of table, a set of index, a set of trigger or store procedure. In NoSQL, it is the same. In database, in a traditional database, you have table, right? So this is a basic storage unit. But in NoSQL, they call it collection. Do you know why they don't call it a table? Anyone know? A table in a NoSQL is called collection. Why is that? Anyone know the reason?
Là mấy cái streaming này nặng mấy quá.
Anyone know? If you know, can you type your answer, please? Why is called collection? Why don't we just simply call it a table? Okay, the answer is here already, right? Collection do not enforce a schema. If you look at the table, any table you see, it will have row and column, right? But in NoSQL, the record, right? Every record will stay in one row. We can call it a record or a row. That's okay. However, in NoSQL, we call it a document. We call it a document because we don't have a fixed, right, numbers of column, a fixed number of attributes. because two documents might have different structure, and for that reason, they will call it a document. Okay. So this is a summary of what I've just explained, right? Database in NoSQL or MongoDB, it's called also database. But a table will be a collection. A row will be a document. A column, right? You know that a table will have many columns. That will be called a queue. Because it's not a table, so it's not a column. How to join a table? I think one of the most difficult skill, right, in a SQL database design is about we have to use join, right? And we have different join, kind of join. Inner join, right? That's the most common one. We have also left join, right join, and outer joins, and so on. How to implement that in MongoDB? We don't have join in MongoDB, but we have embedded documents. We do have join in MongoDB, but I can explain later, right? It will be slightly different. So basically, you cannot run a join query in MongoDB, or it will be extremely expensive. So you have to design a database in a way that you have to perform an individual query. You have to define the way to store the data that match with the data retrieval patterns. If you want to get the data with these values, you have to store all of them, in one collection. Then we can retrieve it at once. So you cannot use two tables and then you join to get more or additional values. Okay. Primary key, we also have a concept primary key in MongoDB, and it's represented by the underscore ID. Yeah. I think it can take lots of time to talk about the advantage of MongoDB, right? Schemaless means you don't have to design a fixed database, right? The structure of the object is clear, no complex choice. So if you are not the fan of the SQL, then you shouldn't worry about the join here, right? Easy to scale out. If you have more data or more requests, you can easily, scale the database into many servers. We can, you don't have to convert, the document into object because this is Json. So Json is already an object. You can easily convert it into an object, right? Internal memory for storing a working set of data, and it enables faster access of data. So this is like a cache, right? Instead of store everything into a physical storage like SSD or HDD, they will store some set of data called working set in the memory. It's like a cache, right? Why we use MongoDB? I think this is a repetition, right? It helps you to scale. It supports lots of advanced features like index or queries or fast access and so on. And also, support by MongoDB. I could give another reason, which is the cloud, right? MongoDB is cloud ready, as many people already create the account in MongoDB here, right? So you can use it without installation, and with this you can easily, scale, right? You don't have to worry about installation. You don't have to worry about scale in or scale out. So you can pay on demand, right? If you have more users, you pay more. If you don't have, you pay less. Management and data happen, come on. You don't see anything called banking, right? Finance, student record. No, we don't do that here. Very clear, very distinct, right? I also see people use this one for IoT, right? NoSQL database for IoT. I don't know it's good or bad, but yeah, it can be one use case for that. Okay. Updates or delete in a traditional database. If you use the we say MongoDB client, so these are commands that you have to run, right? You have to run DB collection, insert DB collection, update and so on. But there will be many third-party libraries that work on top of the database, so you don't have to use a native language, but you can use a third-party language. Okay. One of the clients that are popular is Mongoose database, right? Sorry, Mongoose client. Mongoose. So Mongo is the third-party client that helps us to work with directly with the MongoDB server. Okay. And this is the syntax, right? You create a model, then you create an object, you go say the object. The language we use demonstrated here. Anyone recognize what is the language that the example I'm using? Anyone know? What is the programming language we use here to write code? Anyone? Yeah, please, if you know the answer, type the answer to make our class more interactive. I don't want just one way. I want to make our class more fun, right? Okay, correct. Roughly, you just finish the test one and you still remember this, right? Cons, right? Cons required. So this is JavaScript. Okay, next. Oh, we don't use this, right? This one, we don't use it, but we'll use Mongoose. So this is just for demonstration, but we'll not use it. I don't want you to learn something different. Installation. I think most of you have done the MongoDB Atlas, right? But if you want to install a local version, which I do not recommend you to do, I don't want you to waste time to install it, but instead use Mongo Atlas directly, right? But if you want to do it, you can install MongoDB installer. It will install everything for you. If you use Mac, you may maybe download and set the path to stack and run MongoDB. In the past, I asked students to do directly with the command line. However, now I changed my mind, right? Because we now in cloud, so let's use the cloud version. To connect to the server, the database server, remember we always have a difference between server and client, right? Once you have a server, you can use client to connect to the server, and there are two choices. One is terminal, the other is compass. So compass is like a GUI interface, graphical user interface, and terminal is a command line. Which one you want? Anyone use compass before? Raise hand, please. Have you used compass? Anyone quite that? Nguyên, you always try everything in advance. That's good. So compass is a GUI, right? Graphical user interface. And I also recommend you to use that one. So how to download and install? Super easy, right? You go to the MongoDB website, okay. And that's sometimes a bit slow, be patient. And you go to products, and you can see that we have a database, right? Everything is in here already, and you can try it for free. Right? But this is This is cloud. So this is not the one we want. We want something that is downloadable, right? Lots of advertisement material. And it's very difficult to find a place to download, right? Where is it? Solution. Use case resource. Developer center. Let's go there. They hide the link because they encourage us to use the cloud. So if you don't see the link, maybe you can go here. I have some link here. But here, download center, right? You can go here, right? Hopefully they retain the URL. Yeah. So you can use cloud, or you can download. I don't know if you have to sign in to download, because I remember in the past maybe we don't need. But let's try to sign in. You go to communities and community, right? So let's see if we. This is not the local. This is the cloud one. But anyway, we don't do that, right? We ignore that one. We will use the cloud for this call, so you can have this for your reference only. If you use Windows, everything is very easy, right? There'll be installation for both client and server. However, if you use Mac, you have to install the Mongodb Shell, Mongo Mongo Shell. And in order to install Mongo Shell, you have to install Homebrew. So this is a software management package on Mac. If you have that one, you can install other software easily. If you use Windows, it will be very easy, right? You can just download and install the clients. It won't be the problem for you. Okay, so this is a theory. I think most of the tasks for this will be the practice. So I'll show you a demo now, and you will try with me. Okay. So as far as I know, everyone already have Atlas account, right? If you don't have that, so you can try. You can go to MongoDB and you can get Atlas, or you can search for MongoDB Atlas. Most of them will according to the same. Okay, so this is the home page, right? Now go to sign in. So this step will help you to create a database online, right, and connect to it online. Okay, I already have one cluster running. I can easily, terminate the cluster, and ask me to put the cluster name. Anyone know and understand what is cluster? For computer science, computer engineering, you might hear this word many times, right? So cluster means more than one, right? A group of servers is called a cluster. So when we say cluster here, it refers to something similar. It's a group of database, a group of server. That's what you have to remember. So when you create a database on MongoDB Atlas, they will create a group of server for you. Okay, that's nice, right? If you have more than one server, you can ensure that your server never dies, because one node, fail, you still have other node running. So that's the power of cluster. Okay, so this is almost like a home page, right? You have organization. They will have some organization like company. One account, you can have more organizations. I think this concept is very similar to the one they copied from Amazon. Right? Organization means you can manage many users, many accounts there. Okay, now you will create a project. I already have a project, but maybe I just try to delete the old one, and I'll try to create a new project. So when you log in, everything you have will be organization, right? I'll create a new project. I give it the name my project 1 for example. You can add the member, right? You can add a member. This is the owner. This is the project owner. I'll keep it. I just create a project. Okay. So once you have a project, you can start to build your database, right? Remember, this is a database cluster. So you have more than one server. So you click this. They give you, many options, right? Serverless, dedicated, and share. If you check the price, the serverless is jacked by million read, right? For 1 million read, you get euro per $1, so like 2,000 down, right? If you want a dedicated, they recommend it, right? So this is almost like for production, right? It will check you 1 hour for about almost 1 cent, right? And the cost for 1 month will be like more than 1 million, right? 56 US dollar. Which one you select, please? Tell me. Which one you want? You have 2 options. Which one you want? So it's more sensitive to pay 1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start free one. The nice thing from MongoDB Atlas is no credit card required. I know that some students have a pain, right? Have a pain working with a credit card. So yeah, let's go ahead. Next time when we allow students to enroll in this course, we'll ask students for cloud computing course, we'll ask students to have a credit card as a prerequisite. Right? Okay, let's say create. I know that Amity now go with cashless. Cashless means that you cannot use cash within the campus. So I think most of people use Momo, right? Momo to pay, or Visa card or ATM card. But yeah, you get ready for that, right? And if you learning, or if you are ITS student and you learning, these courses, I think having a credit card is not a luxury, but it's like a norm. Simply, if you don't have it, you cannot learn the course. So I'm sorry to say that, but when I go cashless, for example, of course there are lots of objections, right? Lots of protests from many people. However, right? You have it and then you buy food, but if you don't have it, then you find another place, right? So sometimes we need to be a bit more straightforward and tough. In another country, if you go to other country, I don't think cash is, give you advantage. Right? So they accept a credit card, and most other places they only accept that. Okay, so I will select. Remember, Mongo Atlas work with AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. So it will not stick to one. But as a fan of AWS, I'll select AWS, right? Because you can select Google. Right? There will be a number of places you can select. For example, you can select Singapore, right? Singapore. Targets 1. Asian Pacific, targets 1. And then I will create a roster in this availability zone, right? That's great. Okay, when I create a roster, which is a database, they'll ask me for username and password to log in. I'll try a user called admin and admin, okay? Admin and admin. And I will create a user. They ask another question where you want to access, because for security reason, we shouldn't let anyone to access the database. Usually we have to use our static IP to put it here. But this is just a test, so just relax that one, right? Okay, they also suggest you how to connect, from local or cloud environment. So both of them are okay, right? You can edit this a little bit if you want. When again the password you can change here. Okay. Now we go back to the database to see, you know, if it's provision for us, right? So cluster 0, right, by default, which is a database, right? And we can browse the collection, see if is there any collection there. Nothing happens. So now, yeah. So you can load some sample dataset if you want. But I will just keep it, right? I'll go back to the home page. Okay, this is important, right? You have 3, right? 1, 2, 3. 3 shacks. Because this is cluster, right? So basically they have 3 places to store the data in Singapore, right? More than one place. That's why they call it cluster. And this is a shared cluster, which means that many people use the same sort of computer. If you want to have dedicated one, you can upgrade. Of course, you have to pay, right? You want to pay? Anyone want to pay? Okay, we pay later, right? If you got a project, if you got a project, then the customer, right, will cover that cost for us. But because we are just a post student, right? So we do that. Remember, whenever you create a database, it is a cluster of 1, 2, 3 server, and you see the name called shack, right? This is not a shack, you know, like baby shack, but this is like a server, right? Shack is like a server, a partition. What is a server? All right, I will connect to this database to see what there and do some administration stuff there. You should do some configuration, right? One of configuration is, you know, to allow access from anywhere. I'll tick this one. And I don't think this is a problem, right? Okay. Now we're ready. Create a database user. It's already there, but just ignore that. Right? Okay, now how to connect? How to connect? There are 3 ways to connect, right? You can connect from your application, which we'll discuss later. We connect using Mongodb Shell, or you can use Mongodb Atlas. So the difference between Shell and Compass is this is user interface, and this is the you know, command line interface, right? So I'll say no, I'll not connect with anyone here, right? What I want here, I want to go and do something, some online, like connections in here, right? Let's see if they support anything like that, right? Okay, now we will try to create some, no, we don't create cluster anymore. Now what I want here is, I want to create some collection, right, online. Let's see where I can do that. I go to database. Yeah, I will go to browse collection. Okay, so we don't have anything here, right? So try to add some data. Just say DB1, right? Collection name employee. Let's say we want to create a collection called DB, right? And then just create the database and a collection here. So we have DB1 and collections. And now try to insert a document, right? Remember, they'll generate an ID for us, default, and we'll select, try to insert, right? Add let's say, you know, so this is a number, right? So we should change it into numbers instead, integers, right? So just insert. Then we have one document in here, right? So we are almost successful. Now your turn. You create a cluster, create a database, and create a collection. Once you create a collection, try to insert a document. I'll give you about 15 minutes to do that. And if you have any questions, you let me know. To create a cluster, right? DB, a collection, and insert some document into it. Right. So finally, I would like to see your, you know, final result like that. Okay. Take your time, please. Yeah, if other people finished, you can share the screen or you can raise your hand. I know that some just started the first time, so it will might take more time to finish. So if you can, create a collection, create a insert, a query, a document like that, so you almost there, right? Of course, when you write code to debug your application,
Nó mỗi như vợ trong phòng như giờ vợ xe râm nó xem được nó như người lại cái kia này
Okay, so who else have finished? Or anyone who haven't finished? Okay, so this is I'll show you one more thing and then we can finish. And if you haven't finished, you can a bit more, right, on that, so you can fully, work with MongoDB. So when you have this, and if you want to connect it from your local, right, you consider to use something called, it just show you maybe you don't need it, right? Because maybe this is already enough, right? You see your database and you don't have to do any installations. Yeah. But anyway, I'll show you just in case, you know, you want to use it. Okay. You see the connect button here, right? If you click on that connect button, they'll give you a number of ways to connect. Maybe this one, connect from the application. We'll show you later. However, we try now. I'll show you now with the Mongodb Shell and Mongodb Compass. Again, these are optional, right? Optional, even for the assignments or for the final test. These are optional, right? You don't need to use it because I think this is already enough, right? I give you a chance to query, you know, your database as well. Right? You have here, and then you can have a query here, so you have everything. But I will just show you, just in case you need it. So someone may refer this, right? So the first option is connect with Mongodb Shell. If you use Windows, you download the client here, right? If you use Mac, I'm using Mac, so I have to run brew install Mongo Shell. Because I already did it this morning, so the only thing I need is I just need to issue this command, right? In order to connect from my command line. I open my terminal and
so I should download Mongosh.
Yes, you have to download it. Yeah, terminate this and open a new one. It depends on your computer. If it's Windows or Mac, you select a private version. Because I'm using Mac, so I have to install it from command line. I installed already, so I need to copy and run this command, right? So I enter the password, right? And yeah, so I connect successfully to my cluster 0, right, database. And you can run a number of commands like show database to see what database you have. You see I created database 1, right? And if I use DB1, then I switch to the DB1, and I can show collection to see whatever collection I have. I have a collection here, right? And if I want to say DB employee.file, for example, and if I put nothing, you know, an empty object, then they'll query everything for me. These are very basic commands that I can work with from a command line. And you can see that it's exactly the same, right? It's exactly the same with the user interface. Okay. And the next one will be if you don't want to use command line, you feel the command line is a complicated one, you can use a Mongodb Compass, right? Okay. If you use Mac, you can download the Compass from here. If you use Windows, you can download the Compass from here. I already installed and downloaded and installed Compass. So this is my Compass, right? This is my Compass. Okay. I will delete the connection here because I don't think that's the one I want. So this is the old one. So you see, they cannot fetch the document because that's the old one. So I will close this one and open the Mongo Compass again. Again, these are just optional, right? You don't have to do that if you don't want. Okay. I have a favorite connection here. I'll just delete that one because I will not use this favorite one. Now I will create a new connection, right? I don't know how to create a new connection here. Just create new connections, and I'll paste the link. Where's the link? Here, right? They will tell me that okay, you copy the link here, and then paste to MongoDB, right? To Compass, right? Okay, and you reply the password here, please, admin, right? And then just connect. You can see, right, connect successfully, and there will be 3 hosts here. This is 3 hosts, 3 shacks, right? 3 shacks. And if you go to database, you will see that we have admin DB1, which I just created, and the DB1 with the employee connection collection that I did before. Exactly the same, right? There's no difference. Exactly the same. And here you can insert more if you want. Let's see if I have.
So basically,
yeah,
I
insert,
just use like Mongo Compass to connect with the MongoDB Atlas. So I do need to like install Mongosh.
there are 3 different ways. I'll just show you all of them, right? So if you want to connect by using a command line, then you use Mongo Shell, right? If you want to use the interface, you can use the
I'm with
right?
you.
Yeah, so everything is the same, exactly the same, and they all are equivalent, right? For example, I can insert one more here by saying db.employees. Employee. But insert, right? I can insert a document here, you know, if I want. And I can put a value, let's say, yes, employee, for example, right? I can use command line to insert as well, right? But I say something deprecated, so I have to change into insert one. Okay, and I use command line, but if I go here and refresh, then probably I'll get more, right? More items here. If I delete this, yeah, this is the online one, right? I delete it. And if I go back to the compass, this is compass already, right? But if I go here to refresh, then probably, you know, refresh, right? Refresh here. And in the command line here, if I run the file, it's also get refreshed, right? So 3 completely different ways to connect, right, to the database. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so if you don't have questions, I suggest you to try the command line, right? The Mongosh. And how to do it? You go to the website here and you click on the database and they will have a connect. Just click on the database and click on the connect here, right? Click on the connect and you select this. Yep. So please try it in maybe 5-10 minutes to get yourself, you know, more diverse, right? More diverse, more authoritative. Right? Sometimes this tool fail. You can try another thing. 10 minutes, please.
This room. This room. Gray clear, gray clear thì mình xem signal của đó luôn. Xem signal. Okay. Thì thấy rồi nè. Đây kia này là nó mỏi. Tôi coi đó, cái hồi điện thoại này. Nó là người dân cái điện thoại mấy cái điện thoại này thôi. Bản chất cái gray peer này là this gray peer nó create the other user in this room, right? I get it. Here are the keys. Then after we create this one peers, we send this pair to the other. So basically it's like mass topology. So one join, one join. This is the one people join and the other join. You can signal this guy, signal, and then he has to signal back you. So you know each other is in the same room. So socket really do here is to maintain the state only. So how to send a signal? So your socket, you send a signal. So after a user join, we admit our user to the newly user join, and then we create those peers for you. Those peers gonna create auto user, and then I'm sending those peers to other user signals. So when I two, basically you sending. So this one, the first guy, right? The second guy will join late. So when this user join, you send a signal here, and then you have to send back a signal to him. So basically, when a user join, so when this user join, nothing happens. When this user join, he has to send back other user. Needs to make this user back to the client side, the server. The client understand that. So right now the current user is 2 right now. So client now know that there's another user. So here she's gonna create it. Create peer. Create this peer and then emit, sending a signal to the server. sending signals. Sending signal to the server that user the signals. User to signals is the user to signals. User ID. So user ID is sending back this to it also, and signal back to it. That's it. Sending back signal to this to it in the server, and then when sending back the signal to it in the server gonna send to user to signal. That means the current user. Alright. So he's gonna send back. After this, he's gonna send back another signal to the caller ID. That's early, man.
Okay. So no one else have finished? No problem. We still have. Thank you, Duy. Yeah, good. You use Compass, right? Okay, good. Yeah, Compass is a client, right? Client, desktop clients, and we also have the online one, right, as well. And the Mongodb is the terminal, right, command line interface. So we have three different ways. We still have another way called connect from application, but we'll discuss this maybe next week when we combine MongoDB and Node.js. So I think I would like to say congratulations, right? Because I think most of you have digested not only the concept but also the practice on this. Right? Basically, that's inside MongoDB here is for local MongoDB, but this is just for reference. You don't have to do this, right? Because now we switch to Atlas already. Right? So there's no need for that. Right? There is some basic command on add, update, delete, right? Documents. You can try that. Right? You can try that if you want. But I think in a tutorial on Friday this week, I will discuss with you a bit more about how to design, right? Design a NoSQL database. I think this is very practical. Of course, you don't see any books lecture about that one, but I think that is very practical. Because when you map between SQL database to NoSQL database, you need to deal with your, columns and attributes. I think that's important. We'll discuss how to use embedded document or when we use a reference column, for example. Thank you very much for joining the section today. I'll see you. I think good. I'll see you soon on Friday, where we'll discuss about how to design a database on MongoDB. And I think this is very useful for your assignment, right? Group assignments. Because I'm sure that you need to work with MongoDB anyway. Bye bye and see you. Thank you for joining us today. Have a nice day to everyone. Bye. Bye bye. Bye bye everyone.
the hell? Oh, just stop a container by using his hand. The hell? That's crazy. Okay. So basically when you create a peer, that means you create the other user peer. Not a user, it's other user peer. This one is other user. You can make this naming better, man. Other user and so we're not pushing me into this pack yet. Because we need the PID of me first, right? Because we don't have the PID of me, so when I create the peers, I mean we create all the peers. Name better than this. Create peers, create all the peers, man. Create peers so bad. Understand shit about this naming conventions. So we can create all the peers, create them. Okay, and send signal back to the server. Let me send a signal back to the server. Yep, send a signal back to the server with user to signal. Basically, us. User to signals with other user. The caller ID is basically us. I wish I can make it clear for you. Other socket ID. Signal. I love this. I'm gonna type this inside here. And then the caller ID is basically me. ID. This is shit. Yes, I need in signal is signal. We send a signal using socket. We create other peers and then we send a signal, including our signal too. Not to read the talk about PR signal too. Not sure. What signal do? P1 on signal, P1 next signal. Get to P1 to somehow. P2 signal data. This place mean when this here and out of here. and other peers have signals. We're sending the signal back to the server. When the server get the signals, send a signal so the current when the user try from that user to payload new signals, yeah. So basically pay global IO to payload user to signals send to them, and make user join, them, send them the signals and caller IDs, current socket ID. Yeah. Maybe you could do better than this, man. Yeah, and then when the user join, the app is gonna occur. This is at us. Yeah, that's it, at us. Add us on, and then this from here going to Wi-Fi signal from the others. And then she gonna returning a signal. Holy shit, what's the returning signal? We're gonna wait for a signal from others and then returning the signal back to the server. And the signal return something on the returning signal. Hello, ID. Need us. This add thing. Add us to. Add a signal for ID is us. Add us to. Now we're gonna IO to caller ID to us. Yeah, to us. Now the receive the return signal from our user signals. Payload signals, ID, socket ID. So basically us too. Fuck, I don't understand shit, man. I know that we'll add peer, we're gonna, and then peer signals, incoming signals. So incoming signal is from this one. The signal from the beginning from us, sending it here. Server, clients. Oh, maybe this is better. Clients, server. On the beginning, when the socket plus user going connect, user going here, connect to the server. Try remove. Try remove. Group. Look at that. The server admit. Oh. Yeah. Other user to the client. use it, and then I use that. User will create all the keys, then to him all the keys. This is signal. Minus S. So basically, when our user join, we write other peers. Anyway, other peers gonna be get created. Other peer on signals. Other peer on signal. What I do is other is away from user signal. So if yes, user signal, we're gonna admit this one. Sending signal back to the server. Sending signal. User wait for current user signal. When the current user sending a signal. In signal, the server going to process this. To other user emit here with the user new user join. Send back the signal caller ID something. With signals and the caller ID. And then when this guy receives it, look at this user join. User join gonna add here, so add here going to this is the create other user. Now we create current user. Create other user to wait for current user signal. Create to wait for other user signals. And then Right, yeah, right. And then we admit this. Returning signal from me, my current user. He's going to take this return signal. Socket, right? Socket to current user. Get back to the current user. Receive returning signals. Receive return signals. We have the signals, we take the signals, and I also get the receive returning signals, and then we're gonna use it here, I guess. Yeah, okay. Receive returning signals, peer reference current file. So basically we try to recreate other user to wait for the signal socket to other user, then send signal socket to other user. Current user to wait for other user signal socket to current user, and then current user get the current user signal back to the receive return signal, and then find that current user signals. Look, I think like current user signal to signal PID, yeah, got it. So basically when we add the user, we add the peer, we create the current user already, so it's okay. Select the user signal to signal the payload. The payload signal. Return signal. Return signal. Current user is waiting for other user signal. So if she receives it, gonna returning a signal. So you need to wait for other user signal. Normal signals. Oh shit, forgot. And then here signals. So right now we wait for other user to wait for other user, and signal to incoming signals. What is that? Hey, last signal. Oh, because of the user, they have to wait for current user signal. Right, for other user. So other PS is wait for. The other PS is wait for the current user signal. receive the current user signal. It's going to admit the sending signals to here. We need to wait for the current user signal. Take current user signal to signal. We need to wait for current user signal, so we need the current user to signal them. The current user signal to signal other user. Ah, okay. Peer signal. Peer signal. I have to read about peer signal. Here's the signal that data. Here on signals, and then now he signal that data. Incoming signals is from the app here. When the user join, the app here going to signal incoming data. User join sending signal to existing user. So that means the app here right now. Are we in app here? Receive returning signal. So app here is user join. Here user join. Destroy. Signal to someone. Signal to who? Signal to shit. Wait for other users. Signal to incoming signal. To other users. So after the signal to other user, this user wait for current user signal. This current get this one sending signal socket to other user. Usually curse it. Wait other user to wait for current user signal. If she receive it, so we're gonna maintain a state. User check user wait for other user. Here signals. Current user gonna signals to other user, user, signal to other user. When signal to other user, signal to other user, also returning the socket to current user. Return signal. Get back to the client. Write the current user signals, and then try it, and then signal. Okay, current user, right? Is it true? Yeah. I ought to subject to the current user. Signal, you see? So this signal basically is the other user. The current user is waiting a signal. Current user wait for the signal for other user, and then like this P1 is waiting for the signal from P to someone else, and then tag P2 to that signal. Give it to P2 somehow, see? So that's mean P1 has the signal. P2 on data. And P1 connect. P1 send this. And P2 have the signals. P1 wanna need to remove the signal back to P1. So basically this means P1 have the signals, and then the signal is back to the server about a signal from the other user. Other user again. That's weird, but it's basically like that. And right now is we payload signals. Icon peer, private peer ID. ID socket ID. Current user. Oh my god, that's it. Basically, it's a process. The current user gonna signal current user. The users, you see the signals. You see the signals. It's insane, man. Don't understand shit. Okay, stop right now. Okay, thank you guys.